Hi, I'm Ray Maxwell, and I'm going to show you cameras from the past.
And I'm Sean Carruthers, and I'm going to show you some technology from the future. It's a technology time warp, today on The Lab.
Good to see you and welcome. It's time for The Lab. This is my lab. I'm Leo Laporte. This is the lovely Kate Abraham, and this is the place you want to be right now.
Indeed, you should.
This is it. This is it. Don't go anywhere else. I know that Oprah's got fire engines on her show today, but don't worry because we're going to be much more interesting. You saw Ray's Maxwell's Museum of Technology.
Yes.
Of old stuff that he's dusted lately.
Huge
big stuff. It's actually cameras, very interesting cameras. Neat stuff. I love this stuff. Also, Sean Carruthers. He's back from the Consumer Electronics Show, which is a big trade show, and he's brought back some gems, he says.
Okay.
Gems. Jewels. Oh, no, I can't say jewels because that's Ryan Ewell's trademark. Yeah. Chris Krug is also here. If you're a corporation and you want to get involved in Web 2.0 and the new media, how? How do you do it without looking like, you know, you're completely clueless? Well, Chris Krug knows how to do it, and he's going to help you. All that's coming up. Some of our great callers, too. In fact, I think we should go to Newfoundland right now.
Indeed. We're going to a place called Grand Bank, and we have Colin with Skype.
That's great. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Hello, Colin. How are you?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
I am great. Do you fish? Are you a fisherman? Isn't the Grand Bank where the big fishing schools are?
Well, in that vicinity, yes. It is a big fishing town.
I bet it's a big fishing town. That's very cool. Well, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. What can I do to help you today?
Well, I was on to eBay, and yes. I bought a iPod Shuffle, or so I thought it was. And actually it turned out to be just a imitation.
Really?
It works fine, except for the shuffle mode. So I took about 200 songs and transferred them, and they all play fine, but they play in alphabetical order. And I'm wondering, is there a way to put these songs in a file that they won't be alphabet? Do you want them to play randomly, or do you want them to play in a different order, just not alphabetical? No, randomly is fine, right?
Well, fine, it's fine, but that's the thing you can't do. Because if it doesn't have a shuffle feature, if it can't play songs randomly, then there's no way for you to do that. Now, if you wanted to say, no, I don't want to play, for instance, a lot of people say, look, alphabetically is wrong. I want to play the tracks in the order that they appear on the CD. That's different. And that would be simply renaming those files 01, song remains the same, 02, ready to take a chance again, 03, falling in love, that way. And the 01, 02, 03, it would sort by that, and it would put them in the proper order. You want it to shuffle like an iPod Shuffle, that's something that has to be built into the software that the player uses. Did it have the word shuffle in the name?
No, no, it's just an MP3 player.
It just said an MP3 player.
But it does have a shuffle mode with a repeat mode also.
It says it has a shuffle mode.
But it doesn't seem to be working on the MP3 player.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Unfortunately, that's what happens with these cheap Taiwanese clones. They say, Apple's making a lot of money on this shuffle thing. Let's put the word shuffle in our ad. But doesn't mean, apparently they haven't implemented that. So if you can't...
well, like I say, it is there, but it's not working, right?
Yeah,
if
right.
I put it over on repeat, it will repeat the song, but like the shuffle won't work.
How do you put files on it? Do you just drag them over, or do you use Windows Media Player or iTunes? I mean, how are you getting music onto that thing?
No, just drop and drag.
Just drag and drop, okay. Because if it supported something like, for instance, Windows Media Player playlists, then you could kind of fake it by creating playlists randomly and then copying them over and that kind of thing, and then you'd have a random playlist. But if you're just dragging and dropping stuff over, it's just playing it in order, and the controls that are supposed to shuffle don't, I'm sorry to say, that's what you got. You got a cheap Taiwanese clone that doesn't do what it says it would do. And the problem is because you bought it on eBay, I doubt there's anybody you can bring it to and say this doesn't work properly. I don't know of any way to trick it into doing that. All I can do is get it to play songs in an order that you want by using the file names to have it sort alphabetically. And that's the only help I can give you on that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, because like I say, I know I put them all over there, about 200 or so, and they went obviously A, B, C.
A, B, C. That's really stupid. That's so annoying.
Yeah, and like I say, it do get monotonous because
you know what's coming next. Yeah, it's the B song and then the C song. Yeah, that's frustrating. Does it support playlists?
I have no idea. Like I said, cheap Taiwanese. It was instructions were pretty limited.
Yeah, and probably not exactly in English. Yeah, I mean,
no, I think they were typed on a piece of paper.
I'm sorry, I hope you didn't pay too much for it there, Colin.
No, I didn't. Well, that was the only thing, because actually when I realized the price of it, then after I had hit pay now, then I thought this can't be right. When I went back, then I realized it wasn't.
It's not an iPod.
Software, right?
Yeah, that's why. Look at this is why Apple gets the big bucks, right? Their stuff does what it says it will do. Apple, when they first came out with a shuffle, I'm convinced the whole idea of the iPod Shuffle was, how do we make something really small and cheap? Well, we can't put a screen on it. But if there's no screen on it, how are people going to know what's playing? And they made a virtue out of necessity by saying, oh, well, they just want it random anyway. Yeah, that's a ticket. We'll call it the shuffle. and that was the way of getting rid of a screen. But it turns out, and this is what Jobs said at the speech when he introduced the shuffle, it's exactly what most people do with their iPods. They put it in shuffle mode because you don't want to hear the same song, in the same order. You want to hear some other song randomly. That's how I listen almost all the time, is in shuffle mode. So, yeah, I'm sorry they got ripped off, Colin. I really am. I don't know of any way to trick it, though. Okay?
No, well, before I went out and spent the money to get the original, I just was wondering if there was a way to...
Makes sense. Makes sense. And you don't have to get a shuffle. I mean, a lot of other players will do random play. That's, iRiver is very good. Creative Labs, those Zens are fantastic. SanDisk, the Sansa, which is now the #2 player, excellent. All of them will do shuffle mode. You don't have to get an iPod. I happen to like iPods, but you don't have to get one. Thanks, Colin.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck. Stay warm in Newfoundland. Coming up, Mr. Ray Maxwell. Look at these great old cameras. We're going to take a trip back in time with Ray's Museum of Magical Technology when the lab continues. Stay right here. Welcome back to the lab. I'm Leo Laporte. Ray Maxwell is here. He's our favorite teacher, scientist, engineer, glider pilot, and photographer. And Ray, this is kind of like a little essay. Cameras I have owned by Ray Maxwell.
That's right.
How far back in time are we going here?
Well, I'm going to start over here with this beautiful antique folding Kodak camera.
That's a Kodak.
Yeah,
wow.
That's a folding Kodak. This was my father's camera.
Wow, isn't that
neat? And this survived 55 missions in a B-24 over Japanese territory.
No kidding. Well, that's got some history. And that's got a bellows here, I see. Yeah.
And, it folds up. And,
that's how it folds, because the bellows just kind of compress.
It's a fully adjustable camera. It has aperture, shutter.
Oh, wow.
It has focus.
Now, what kind of film was it shooting on?
Now, that's interesting that you ask. Because it shoots the same 120 film as the Hasselblad I bought many, many years later.
It's a large format camera.
Right, yeah, medium format.
Medium, I guess.
It shot a 6x7 image, this shot a 6x6
When
image.
you say 120, that's like there's 35 millimeter.
Right, and then the 120 is on a 2¼ camera, gets 12 shots on a roll, and then there's 6x6 centimeters.
6 centimeters by there. That's quite big.
Yeah, it's 2¼ square.
Yeah, okay.
But this camera did 6x7, so it only got 10 shots on the same roll of film.
That's pretty.
And then
neat.
you can put in this camera, you can put 220 in, and you can get 24 shots.
I see. Okay.
But this did use something called film. It had these
People don't know what that is. Yeah,
it had these silver halide molecules that reacted to photons.
Yes, people still use film cameras, but I can foresee a time not so far off that people will go, huh?
Film?
What's film?
What's that?
Look at this. This is cool.
Now, this was when I was 10 years old. I had a little box camera I've lost.
Yeah.
When I was 10 years old,
like
I
a Brownie
saved
kind of.
Yeah. I saved my money, and I bought my first 35 millimeter camera, and this is an Argus C3.
You were pretty industrious for a 10-year-old. Well, did you want to be a photographer that young?
I was interested in photography from very early age.
That's really neat.
And the thing now that in technology that changed, this is an adjustable camera,
right?
But this is a rangefinder camera.
What does that mean?
So that means you look through this second hole and you turn this and you got a split image that lets you know when you were in focus.
So you're focusing it, but can you set aperture and shutter speed? You can do that.
Aperture and shutter.
Okay.
And
well, how did the older camera set focus?
By guessing, by golly. It's it says 6 feet, 10 feet.
I'm about 4 feet off.
Right.
So this was an improvement. This was a step forward.
This is a step forward. Now, I used to shoot slides, and I shot Kodachrome. ISO 10.
So you needed a lot of light. You had to be outside. This wasn't an indoor camera. Can I just look at this?
Yeah.
So the rangefinder worked because it has two
Yes,
views?
It looks out 2 points and has
so you're
mirrors
using parallax to
That's right.
to find the range. Wow. This thing's heavy too. I mean, this is metal.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was my first 35 millimeter serious camera.
Wow, that's great. Did you go take a lot of pictures of this thing?
Oh yes. Now you did shoot indoors, and you had flash bulbs.
Right, I remember
with
those.
Big magnesium filled bulbs.
They'd shoot once, and you'd have to shoot them, take them out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 25 cents a shot.
Wow. That's one of the big things that's changed with digital is that it's basically free to take pictures now.
Right.
And in the old days, every picture cost you money.
You bought film.
Yeah.
You paid for the developing. You had to buy flash.
Right,
you know.
Right.
The next step up was when I got my first job at McDonnell Aircraft in the electronics division. I went out and got a Nikon F.
Now this is a classic camera.
Oh, this is a classic. This was my first single lens reflex. So now when I'm looking through here, I'm looking through the actual lens through a prism.
Right.
And I'm now seeing exactly what's in focus and out of focus.
It had a focus ring, no more rangefinder. You can actually focus.
Exactly.
And did this have interchangeable lenses, or was it a fixed lens?
This is interchangeable lenses. Okay. And I had a whole family of lenses for this.
It's funny because this technology hasn't changed very much, really.
No.
We're now shooting 35 millimeter film?
Yes, this is 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, there's one camera missing here because I parted company with it because it was so expensive. I decided I wanted to be a printmaker, and I want to make big prints. And 35 millimeter, make great 8x10s, and if you hold your tongue just right, you may get 1620s.
Right.
But I went out and got a Linhof Technica 4x5 camera.
This is a very large format film.
Film was this big.
It's kind of like having more megapixels. Right. It's having more detail, so you can blow it up.
This would be like having 100 megapixels.
Wow.
Okay.
Right.
But it's very slow to work with.
Right.
And you have to be very deliberate.
Is it like the old cameras where you put in the film like one sheet at a time and
pull the dark slide if you forget?
You didn't wear a cloth over your head with that,
I had a bag that you put both hands in,
Really?
and you loaded these film things out of the box.
Wow.
Then I decided that the compromise would be to go to a Hasselblad system.
This is considered by many to be the greatest camera of all time, I think.
So then I went to the Hasselblad 500 CM here, and I got a set of lenses for it.
Many pros still use this camera.
Yeah. And then I got the Hasselblad Super Wide, which lets me shoot wide angle with the same back. It has no mirror in it.
So this is just the front part of it, and then you would attach a body.
Well, no, you attach just the film magazine.
This is the film magazine.
Let me just show you.
Back here,
The back of the lens is so close.
Wow.
That there's no room for a mirror. So you have this viewfinder, and you don't worry about focus because this thing at f8, everything from infinity to 5 feet is in
crisp
focus.
You know. So that's a specialty camera.
That's a specialty
camera. You would use it specifically for certain purposes. This is used by models, photo shoots.
Right.
This is a portraiture.
Now, I had a whole bunch of film magazines, 120, 220.
Where do those go? Those go on the back
On
part?
the back here, okay?
Here, show
snap
people.
off.
I can see, but they can't.
Right. They snap off like this.
And you're winding the film with that?
Yes.
That crank?
Right. So
Isn't
you fire.
Look at
that. Now they have an ELM.
Doesn't that have a nice sound? That's great.
They have an ELM that's electric, and you just...
We're still in film now.
We're still in film.
These are larger, medium format?
Right.
Yeah.
And this is through the lens, okay? Large format, make beautiful prints.
This is the one that people hold at their waist, though. You're looking down.
You can.
Like this through the thing.
Well, you can get different prisms for the top, so you can hold it right up, or you can hold it like this.
It's such a big camera, most people would shoot it kind of more like this, right?
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
But
that's beautiful.
While I was working for Creo, they bought out a company called Cytex, which owned Leaf, and I was able to get a 22 megapixel digital back.
This is the greatest thing in the world. So all of a sudden you're taking a film camera and you're putting a digital.
I'm taking a 25-year-old film camera.
Yeah, with great lenses, some of the best ever made.
Great Zeiss lenses, and putting a digital back on it.
22 megapixels.
Right.
Wow. How big is the pickup? It must be as big as the
It
the
is
old medium format film.
Yeah, this is a 645.
Look at the size of that. Wow.
That is a big, big, big chip.
How much is that leaf back?
You can get this model now. It's down to 18,000.
And you have to have a Hasselblad to start.
Right.
All right. Well, now we're moving into modern times, and this is the camera I know you use most of the time. This is your 5D. I have one. I love this camera.
A couple of years
This is a
ago.
very high-end kind of camera. A lot of pros use this camera. It's all digital.
To me, this was the first full frame 35 millimeter that had big enough pixels to compete with this machine.
Gets great images.
And it was 12 megapixels. And just for the record, there are 16 and 22 megapixel cameras in the same 35.
Right.
None of them have as much dynamic range and as
interesting.
low noise as the 5D because of the large pixels.
This is kind of your camera of choice these days.
Right.
And of course, you spent a lot of money, and the lenses, and they add up. This is a telephoto lens.
Right.
Beautiful.
This is an image stabilized telephoto.
It's amazing.
This system is fully automatic. You can go to a full automatic 2.25, but
They say it ain't the camera, it's the photographer, and I bet you got some great pictures with that old first camera when you were 10 years old too. But it's still fun to look back and how technology has changed. And nowadays, for a relatively affordable price, people can get great pictures and get part of this fun hobby. I think it's so exciting. Ray Maxwell's pictures are online at maxwellmultimedia.com. Thank you, Ray, for bringing in all this stuff. Ray's Tech Museum. We love to take a trip back in time once in a while. Now, let's take a trip into the world of close-up photography. This is our What the Tech Is It contest. Here's a picture that Sean took of something you'd commonly find around the lab. Oh, of course, that's the strawberry alarm clock we got over there in the back there. What is that? I don't know. Let's zoom out and find out when the lab continues. You stay right here. Welcome back to the lab. There is a strawberry alarm clock shown close up. Let's zoom out and we'll take a look at that Logitech Marble Mouse USB. Dang it! We need the gong. Bong. Wrong again.
I'll get you one.
Wrong again. Sean Carruthers takes those pictures with his Rebel XTI, which he's loving. And what lens do you use for those macro shots?
I'm using a new Sigma macro lens.
It's just for macros?
It's a 105 millimeter macro.
Oh, what fun. So you don't have to get too close, but you can get really zoom, get it. Oh, that's so neat. Oh, that's great. He does some good stuff, doesn't he? We've got a bunch of photographers around here. Chris Krug is a brilliant photographer, too. I am humbled by the crew in this studio. Let's get another call. Of course, the person who humbles me the most, Kate Abraham, ladies and gentlemen.
You notice in my photography, pretty bad.
You say that, but I don't believe you.
It's pretty bad. This is Sam from Ottawa in Ontario.
Thank you, Kate. Hey, Sam!
Hello, how are you, Leo?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing well. It's a little chilly here in Ottawa, but...
Well, now, wait a minute. Now, I'm a Californian. When I say it's a little chilly, that means maybe, it's 12 degrees, 13. What do you mean by a little chilly?
Well, today it's a little warmer, actually. It's going up to 1. But,
1.
Yesterday I'm still getting over the deep freeze of negative 12. So.
What?
Yeah, it gets pretty cold up here.
12 below.
Siberia.
It makes me chilly just to think about it. But what can I do to warm you up?
Well, fortunately, speaking of temperature, I'm moving to Australia next week.
Yes.
And
congratulations! It'll be summer there when you get there.
My family's resident tech expert.
Okay.
And I'm slowly switching everybody over from PC to Mac.
Great.
And they're sort of having a little trouble with it. And so right now, when they can't find something, I come down and I show them on their computer and I say, this is the button you want to click. This is where you want to click here. But I'm having trouble finding a program to do that with a Mac. I used to do it with PC Anywhere and Remote Desktop on the PC, but I'm having trouble with
So
Mac.
you're saying you're going to be in Australia and they're going to stay in Ottawa?
Pardon me? Yes, they are.
So you're going to have to do remote troubleshooting from Australia?
Yeah.
Well, the good news is if you can move them all to Leopard, it's all built in. Apple used to sell a program, Apple Remote Desktop. I suppose they still do. But they essentially completely built this technology into Leopard, and it works quite well. Now, here's the question. You're not going to be in the same place as they are, so you're going to have to access it remotely. This is VNC that's Apple's running. So what you're going to have to do is get a VNC client, like Chicken of the VNC, which is free, and they have to make some modifications to their Leopard. Have they gone to Leopard?
One of them has. The rest are slowly waiting.
Yeah, I probably would make that shift.
Okay.
And then what you'll need to do is and you could actually do this from a PC, believe it or not. Lifehacker is recommending Tight VNC, which is another program, but that's for Windows. This will work with Chicken of the VNC on Mac, and you can control it pretty simply. What you have to do, though, is you have to set a VNC password. So that they can, so that VNC stands for Virtual Network Computing. So I'm going to show you this. This is the article. We'll put a link to this in the show notes on Lifehacker. But what you got to do is you've got to go to the sharing preference pane. So if I can open the sharing preference pane here, I shall show you. And let me see, where do we do this? Is it screen sharing? I guess I'd have to go to computer settings. Yeah, here it is. So you're going to turn on screen sharing, because that's the technology you're going to use. You're going to say VNC viewers may control screen with the password, and you give it a password. Now, they're going to have to, the only thing that's going to be a little tricky, and you'll do this before you leave, Sam, so here's an assignment before tomorrow. You're going to have to open up the right ports on their firewall or router so that you can get in, you can access your system using virtual network computing.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm talking about?
What I'll do is I'll set it up so I can access my router remotely on the other side.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. And then you can set the ports later. If you Google VNC port forwarding, it'll tell you which ports that you need to open. I don't remember off the top of my head, but that's why Google was created. It looks like you have to open port 5900. Okay.
And so that will give me full, just like the old Windows remote desktop.
Yeah, it's the same idea. And it works quite well. I mean, we use it all the time. Now, there is a technology that Apple has built in to Leopard called Back to My Mac, which in theory makes it easier. You don't have to use VNC. If you've got a .Mac account, you can access any other computer with that .Mac account. I have never gotten it work. I have never met anybody who's got it working. It apparently doesn't work. It is the strangest thing that Apple's built this feature in, and I don't hear anybody saying, it doesn't work. Have you got it working?
I got it to work for about 10 minutes and then it died.
Sean says he got it to work for 10 minutes and then it died. It's the strangest thing. I wish Apple, I want to kind of smack Steve Jobs around and say, can you make this work? Because it's a great idea. Then, if you're all logged into the same .Mac account, every other computer, no matter where you are in the world, you'll show up in the Finder. You know, this new Finder in Leopard is great. And you just click it. See, right now in the Finder, I can see Sean's MacBook. I can see the home iMac. Now, see, in theory, this home iMac, this is my iMac in California. And I see it because we're both on the same .Mac account. Can I connect to it? No. I don't know why not. It just doesn't respond. So in theory, it's working. I mean, at least I can see that home iMac is there. And that goes through firewalls and everything. But until they get that working, go into sharing, turn on screen sharing, enter a VNC password, and then you can use Chicken of the VNC on your Mac in Australia after you've opened port 5900 and 5901 to access your folks' machine remotely and do all that setup. I do this for my mom, and it really is a great solution.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, Sam, thanks. Hey, why are you going to Australia? Is it for school or?
Yeah, for school. I'm going to dental school down there.
How exciting! Where in Australia are you going to be?
In Sydney, right downtown.
Oh, man.
Nice and warm.
Are you a surfer?
Well, I tried it twice, and
you're gonna like
he was mad that day.
Go down to Bondi Beach,
scary.
do a little surfing. You're going to have a great time, Sam. I wish you all the best. Come back, though, after you're done, all right?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
Take care, Sam. Bye-bye. Coming up, Sean Carruthers is here. He's brought back from the Consumer Electronics Show the gems, the picks, the very best stuff. We'll show you in just a bit, but before we do that, let's take our quick quiz question of the day. Who wrote the music in the background of, is that little music box music? I'm a Mac, I'm a PC. Who wrote that? Was it Gary Newman of what is he? Did he do Cars? Yeah. Me in my car, I could go so far. Was it Danny Elfman of Boingo Boingo? He also wrote the Batman theme. He's a great composer. Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo, who's now become one of the greats in the film industry. Or Ryan Ewell of Ewell's Jewels. That's a tough one. It could have been anybody. Well, maybe not Ryan. Think about it. We'll talk about it when the lab continues. Stay right here. Welcome back to the lab. Sean Carruthers is back from Las Vegas, the Consumer Electronics Show, biggest show of the year.
Yeah, we said it was a time warp at the beginning of the show, and it kind of is the way we tape these.
Yeah, because this, well, the show, the CES was in January.
Right.
We're taping this in late January, and it's going to be seen many months from now. But that's all right, because the funny thing is, most of the stuff at CES you won't be able to get till Christmas anyway.
If at all.
If at all. Let's take a look at this. This is something that's been talked about for ages, and frankly, I'm surprised it even exists. This is the Optimus Maximus.
Right, it's from Art Lebedev Studios, and it's what it is it's a keyboard, and you notice the keys are changing here. It's got little 49 by 49 pixel OLED keys in here.
Every key has its own screen.
Right, and there's a bit of software running in behind on your system, and you can reprogram the keys to read whatever you want, remap them for games, you can remap them for, you say you want to change from QWERTY to Dvorak. You can put little images in behind there as well.
Now, it looks like those are pretty solid looking keys when it's set to the QWERTY keyboard. How, you know, are these going to break? How reliable is this?
Time will tell, really, because hardly anyone has gotten a chance to actually get their hands on this for longer than it takes to see it at the show.
Right.
They did them in a limited run of about, I think, 200, and they're doing it again. Initial run was about $1,500 for this, which is not cheap. Now you're seeing it on the website for about $460. By the time you see this on TV, it might be even cheaper.
See, that's not bad. But are they actually selling it, or is it a hoax? I mean, that's what I want to know.
Well, some people have said that that they've tried ordering it and they can't really place the order because it keeps coming back. So time will tell whether if this is actually a real product that's going to be available in any more than these few demo models that they were showing off.
Cali had one of their devices that only had something like 6 buttons on it. They've never been able to produce these in quantity. Let's put it that way.
I really want to see this because it's a great concept, and I really would love to see this come to fruition, because all of those things, one-touch buttons, it gives you full customization over everything.
Now, this is all video you shot while you were at CES. Some of it for Lab Rats, probably, right?
Right, all of it for Lab Rats. And
LabRats.tv is his video podcast with Andy Walker. What is this? This is a surge protector.
Well, this is the surge protector. It's called the Conserve from Belkin. And what this is one of the problems, we talked about vampire power, phantom power beforehand. So a lot of gadgets use power even when they're switched off.
Cell phone chargers, not the phone, but the charger will continue to draw power as long as it's on.
Right, and your television, your DVD player, all of this. And the Conserve Surge Protector is designed to stop that. It's got that switch that you see there. That's a remote controlled switch that you can place on the wall elsewhere. And then you put a bunch of your gadgets that you want to be able to switch off into these gadgets, or into these sockets that are down at the bottom here. And then there's a couple of hot sockets that are always on. So for you put your television and your amplifier onto the switch circuit.
But that's to save you from leakage, power leakage. And I mean, how much money are you saving? I don't know. But it's just the idea. I mean, if millions of people are doing this, Nokia recently started changing the way their phones work to avoid this. So I mean, I think there is something going on there.
Right. So that's out soon. It's about $40. It's not really cheap, but it's cheap enough.
It might. Yeah, it probably won't save you enough money to pay for itself, but you'll feel good about it.
Right. This is another option. This is the Smart Strip from Bits Limited. This is not brand new, but I haven't heard about it until this show. Same general concept, except it treats it in a different way. Instead of having the remote-controlled switch, what you have is a control outlet. So you would put your computer and plug that into the control outlet, and when you switch your computer on, the things that are in the controlled outlets that I'm pointing to there will switch on automatically.
So it says, oh, you turn on your computer, you're going to need your printer and your hard drive, and turns them on us also.
And the monitors, right.
What a good idea.
And then when you switch the computer off, it'll automatically switch them off.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then with these red ones here, you've got always on outlets, so you could put your cable modem into that.
So this is the Smart Strip by Bits Limited.
That's the Smart Strip.
How much is that?
That one, it varies in price, but $29, $39.
And that's available now?
That's available now in a couple of different outlet configurations.
Now, is the Poweramid available now?
The Poweramid is coming. It should be out by the time you're seeing this. So
it's a pyramid.
It's a pyramid.
And it's a power supply.
This one's a little bit cheaper, about $25 maximum, depending on the length of cord you get with it.
It's a good design, though, because now I have those big fat wall warts. I can just plug it in there, and I can have multiple transformers plugged in.
Right, yeah. So it keeps them apart without taking up too much space. And if you get one of the ones that just sits flat on your desktop and you have all those...
You can't get them all plugged in.
adapters, it takes up too much space.
Very disappointing. Sony was there. So the big thing at CES, of course, is Samsung, Sony, LG, the big consumer electronics giants.
Right.
What did Sony have to show?
Well, Sony was showing off the OLED TV, which we'll talk about in a different segment.
$2,500 OLED TV.
But they were showing off some fun things as well, and this is one of them. This is the Rolly. It's an MP3 player, and those things on the ends, those caps that are flipping around, are covering up speakers. Now, it dances. It uses robotics from the Curio division and the IBO that we know, the robotics division they had before. There's 2 rollers around the outside, and that's what's sort of activating them and moving them around on the desk.
This is the funniest thing I ever saw.
But those things also double as remote controls for it, so the volume control, and it'll double as the track control.
If you can catch it.
If you can catch it. So it'd be great fun.
I got to turn on that. Wait, come back here. I got to turn you down.
Yeah, really, it's a party trick. It doesn't really have any legitimate use for most.
It's pretty cute.
Yeah, so you can give it to your
How
kids.
much is the Rolly?
No price yet at this point. So it's to become. It's coming out.
Did you see any interesting phones there?
Well, this right here is LG's prototype of watch phone.
Finally, a phone the size of a watch.
Yeah, so this is a bit dark. It was in a showcase that was off to the side. They didn't want people looking
I don't know
at
why
this.
it's taken so long for companies to do this. This is just natural.
Right. And this uses a CDMA technology. It's working in Korea right now. No firm launch date here in Canada.
The only problem is that you have to hold your
it'll connect
wrist up to your ear to talk. I mean,
no, it'll connect via Bluetooth to your headset, so you don't have to.
I think if they could get a phone in my watch, and it would still be a functional watch, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, well,
it's just a matter of time. What are you laughing at, Chris? Chris thinks we're dorks.
Well, we are kind of.
He's
dorks.
laughing. No, I think it'd be hello.
Speaking of Bluetooth headset, just really quickly, this one right here is from iQua. It's called the iQua Sun. It's called the Sun because on the side here, there's actually a little solar panel.
Oh, now is it enough to really charge it, or is it just for show?
It'll give you, well, it's not for show. It'll actually charge you back up again. If you're always on the phone, it won't be enough to keep you going.
Okay.
But if you're not
you could leave
using
it on the
all
windowsill and it would charge you up.
Right, or even if you have it in your ear like the Borg do all the time, walking around.
I know a lot of people who do that. All right.
So that's the one thing. And one last really quick thing is the remote control beer cooler, which basically
I heard about this.
It has
does it throw a beer
inside.
at you?
It doesn't throw it, but you can roll it across the room.
There is one that throws a beer at you.
Yeah.
Can you? So you
That's
say,
nice.
come here, bring me the beer, bring me the beer.
Right. Well, you have a remote control unit like he's got in his hand right there, and
this is exactly why I send you to CES and I stay home.
To see this.
It's stuff like that. I couldn't care less.
They're promising us next generation will fly.
Right. Oh, can't wait. Oh, yeah. We'll be right there. We'll be right on it. CES. It's just a zoo. 2,700 vendors, booths, 1.85 million square feet. I mean, the thing is just, you can't see everything all. No. Fortunately, we've got people like Sean Carruthers who go year after year, take pictures and come back. And that's frankly as close as I want to get. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more on all of these, go see labrats.tv. How many shows did you do from CES?
We did 5.
Wow, that's amazing. Labrats.tv is the place to go. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more of your calls. Stay right here.
Hey, welcome back to Lab with Leo. I'm Kay Abraham, and I've got a great tip for you if you spend your morning checking out the various different websites for the daily news. It's called popurls.com. Very simple site to use. The great thing is it literally draws all the information from the various sources. So if you check Dig and you check reddit.com, everything is on one page. And the great thing is it's interactive, so what you can do is click through here, and this will actually take me straight through to the site so I can check out from there. And the great thing is as well, one little thing, this actually, you can customize the site. So for instance, if you prefer white, you can click through to there. You can change the text. It's very cool, very simple to use. And the great thing is you can change it to suit your needs.
It's kind of the ultimate start page on the internet.
Yes, absolutely. Everything's in one simple place.
Yeah. Popurls.
popurls.com.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
You got a caller for me?
I do, and I really hope I do this world justice. Jeff from Antigonish.
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 In Nova Scotia.
What's his name?
His name's Jeff. I can get that bit right for you.
Jeff?
It's Jeff.
We can do Jeff. Thank you, Kate. Say it. Is it Antigonish?
Antigonish.
Antigonish.
Yep.
Antigonish. Hi, Jeff.
How are things?
Oh, they're great. Welcome to the show. What can I do for you?
Well, I just had I'm having a problem with my wireless router.
Oh, no. What's the matter?
Well, I have a 2.4 gigahertz wireless router, and I have a 2.4 gigahertz cordless phone.
There's the matter. Yeah, do you get it? Are you getting interference when the phone rings? Does your router pop off?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, the thing is, they have to understand that when they say 2.4 gigahertz, they don't mean exactly 2. It's really spread spectrum. They use, it's a band, and they're using parts of it. In fact, you probably noticed that you can choose a channel on both your phone and on your router.
I never noticed on the router.
Yeah, you can, and go into the router setup. And generally speaking, it's my understanding that there's channels are 1 through 11 on the router. Yep. That channel 1 is closest to the phone frequencies.
Okay.
All the phone channels are in the same area down by channel 1. So changing the phone channel isn't going to help. Changing the router channel will. And just from anecdotal evidence, it seems like the higher you go, the better. So try a higher channel. You might even want to go all the way to 11 and see if that fixes it. If it doesn't, maybe you've got one of those phones that's got a 10,000 watt transmitter or something in it, then you can always get a different phone at 900 megahertz or 5 gigahertz that's not on that band. But almost everybody I know, I use a 2.4 gigahertz phone. Almost everybody I know who uses one of those is able to get it working with their Wi-Fi as long as you set the channel of the Wi-Fi router. Instead of being automatic, which I think usually is around 6, set it to 11. It goes to 11,
Yep.
And if you get it to 11, usually that'll fix it. Give it a try anyway, okay?
Okay. Why doesn't it affect my Wii? I have a Wii system.
Probably because your Wii's on a different channel.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. It may not default to 6, as most routers do. It might default to a different channel. So the reason everything's at that 2.4 gigahertz is because it's unregulated bandwidth. There are several places on the wireless spectrum that are controlled. They aren't regulated. Most of them are. You can't just set up a transmitter at 700 megahertz. You'll get in trouble with your Communications Commission, the CRTC here in the Canada, FCC in the States. They'll say, well, they'll come after you. They actually, in the States, and I've seen these, they have chase cars that have sophisticated directional frequency finders. They'll zoom right in on you. They say, we've got it. We got Breaker 19. We got the guy who's broadcasting 700 megahertz right here. So you got to be careful. But there are frequencies you can broadcast on. 2.4 gigahertz is one of them. And it's completely unregulated. So baby monitors, phones, Wi-Fi, all sorts of stuff works. I once asked the chairman of the FCC in the States, well, what happens if, I'm using my router and somebody down the street suddenly makes a super heterodyne baby monitor and it knocks me off? Is there any recourse? He said, no. It's unregulated. Yeah. So we just got to...
I tried, like I said, I was trying different things and stuff, and it just seemed like everything was still affecting it. So.
Yeah, and because it's radio frequency, it's kind of voodoo anyway. Moving the transmitters around sometimes helps. Moving the phone base station here, the Wi-Fi router there helps. But the best thing I know of is just set the channels, which really means it's using a different part of the bandwidth allocated to it. It's not just 2.4 gigahertz. It's some larger spread, and so it just moves it away from where the phone is. That should work for you.
That's great.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Auntie Ganesh. Ryan Ewell. He's here with a jewel.
It's for Windows, and it's going to require a little bit of setup. It's a game, but if if I just start playing now, it's going to look like a bunch of exploding balls and stuff. It's not going to make sense.
Well, that's no fun.
Because what it is, you start with a black screen, and these red, blue, and green balls start coming after you. So you got to shoot them. You got to blow them up.
Yeah. Is it like asteroids a little bit?
It's like asteroids, and the goal is to make your screen white because we know that red, green, and blue, and light makes white.
Oh, so you're learning some color
There you go.
theory
So I'm
here.
going to start. I'm going to unpause it here.
Okay.
And you're going to see this thing moving
around. It's going to be a mess.
It's going to be...
Stand back.
So what's going to happen here is...
No, it is. It's very much like asteroids, except that you're trying to get the screen white.
Exactly. So, and then you're just blowing stuff up, and you can move around.
I like that.
And I paused the game here, and for some reason, unpausing it has not... Oh, there we go.
There you go. Whoa.
So you start moving around, and it just starts getting really...
Wow.
It starts really
Hyperspace.
getting... Yeah.
Whoa.
So you can see you get power-ups. So stars make your guns more powerful. Little blue...
Kids,
little
this guy's a
whiteboards.
trained professional. Do not try this
This
at
game's
home.
really hard. I've yet to finish a level. Right now I'm at 15%. You have to get to 100% to make the screen completely white.
What fun.
It's a lot of
What's
fun.
What's it called?
It's called Mono for Windows, and it's got a great soundtrack. It's got great visuals. It's a lot of action. It's awesome.
And it's free.
It's absolutely free.
That's really neat.
Go to labwithleo.com, click on free files.
Over there.
Hey, don't distract the game player while he's playing.
Labwithleo.com.
There you go.
Go to Ewell's Jewels, 169. Great free programs and tips that you can use on your personal confuser. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
All right, coming up in just a little bit, Chris Krug. He's going to show how big companies can use the new media to their advantage. You don't have to be square. You can get hip.
These big guys take a while to catch on.
They sure do. Before we do that, though, one more chance to give you a quick quiz question of the day. Who wrote that music? In the background, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC. You know, it's kind of like that music box music. Was it Gary Newman, Danny Elfman, Mark Mothersbaugh, or Ryan Ewell? Did you do it, Ryan?
If I did, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, well, it must have been one of the other three then. I will find out when the lab continues. Welcome back to the lab. Before the break, we asked you who wrote the music. Why don't we play a little bit of that? In the Apple, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC. It's kind of like that music box music.
Oh, yeah, this is my new backup feature in the Time Machine. Oh. It automatically makes copies of me every hour. So if I accidentally delete a file...
Like that? Who wrote that? Was that Gary Newman? Was it Danny Elfman? Mark Mothersbaugh!
I have to say, Mac.
If you listen closely, you can hear it say,
thanks, PC.
Are we not apples?
Thanks, PC.
We are Devo.
Thanks, PC.
I didn't know Mark Mothersbaugh wrote that. It's not exactly a complicated tune, but it's ubiquitous. Chris Krug, speaking of ubiquitous, is here. He's the president of Rain City Studios, an expert on new media. He's a photographer and a Drupal developer, and just gave a speech, which I thought sounds really interesting, on how established businesses can use the new media. It's risky, isn't it? It's a little scary for them.
Yeah, and I brought in some examples of people doing it right and some folks doing it wrong.
Well, show us somebody who's doing it right.
Sure. A couple of the examples that popped to mind. One is Battlestar Galactica. This is one of the most popular shows on TV. They were the first group to go ahead and release clips and audio files and photos on their own website and encourage people to take them and remix them and make their own trailers for Battlestar.
Look what they say, Video Maker Toolkit, so you can make fan videos, as opposed to some movie makers who say, you can't mess with our stuff.
Oh yeah, there's still lots of movie companies that will send you a cease and desist for using a logo or a screenshot or something from a movie.
Crazy.
And,
Prince tried to do that with his fan sites.
That's right.
Crazy. These people are your biggest fans.
Another one who's doing a really good job of it is the NHL. The NHL will let you use their logos, remix your own highlight clip, submit it to NHL.com, and maybe it'll make it on TV if you have a good enough highlight clip.
So that's smart. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason not to let these people kind of take
advantage of your fans' passion instead of trying to shut it down and fight against it.
Are people blogging? Is that? I mean, it seems like that would be another way you could kind of.
Sure. Yeah, I have a couple more examples in the category of at least they're doing something. GM started a new Fast Lane blog where they talk about their products and their cars.
It has to be more than just a marketing thing, though, right? It can't just be, buy our cars, aren't we great? It has to be honest.
Yeah, it's from the voice of their vice chairman, which is pretty uncommon. He gets on there, he blogs and responds to comments. There's a community forming. People are having discussion there, and there's a real talk about the stuff that Ford's doing, the Ford Focus and different things.
Users have a pretty good radar, though, when it's real or just somebody pretending to be real.
That's great. Actually, that moves us into the third category, the ones that I brought today, which is flogs or fake blogs. So,
flogs,
Walmart,
good name.
Walmart recently had a Walmarting Across America blog where they a happy family in an RV supposedly went across America, stopping at all the Walmarts and taking videos of the happy employees and great products. And it turns out, that the plane tickets and the RV and their expenses and everything was all covered. These were Walmart employees.
And when this comes out, it's actually worse for you than if you hadn't done anything at all.
I mean, the internet and blogging is all about authenticity and having a real voice and connecting with people. When people are duped, it's definitely a backlash. So.
That's actually scary because people, I think that's one of the reasons people don't participate at all. They feel like the backlash that they can get from the internet community is risky for them.
Yeah. Well, in some cases, the backlash will lead some unexpected results. So recently there was a Chevy Tahoe campaign where they encouraged their users to make a Chevy Tahoe commercial. Well, it ended up turning into a culture jamming project where all sorts of folks with interest in global warming and anti-SUVs hopped on and made anti-Chevy Tahoe commercials. But through all the news and the buzz and all the incoming links and Google traffic, Chevy Tahoe sales went through the roof that quarter.
So it didn't hurt them.
So it didn't hurt them, and they were brave. They went out there and they hosted some of the discussion about the backlash on their own site. I tell people not to shut down the comments unless it's something clearly illegal, like racism or slander, but to the conversation's taking place out there. You might as well have it taking place in a place where you can participate.
That's the biggest challenge, I think, for these companies is they're not a big old line company is not used to their customers talking back to them, and sometimes they don't want to hear the bad, right?
Well, the thing that's important for these companies to remember, though, is the conversation doesn't go away by just you not participating.
It's happening
All
anyway.
it does is go around the corner to somewhere else where you have no control and no voice. And
you don't want somebody to start ChevyTahoeSucks.com. Far better to have them come to you and play on your site.
Invite them in, talk to them, tell them, give them a value proposition that's meaningful to them, address their concerns.
We're seeing, it's interesting, in the U.S. in the presidential election, we're seeing candidates who normally would be very reluctant to kind of engage in these kind of conversations realize they've got to. It's part of being available, being transparency is the word that's often used.
It's amazing when you look at this election compared to the last one. Every single candidate has a blog and a YouTube channel and all sorts of social media outlets. So.
And some do it better than others. And of course, if you do it really well, like somebody like Ron Paul, and you've actually built this who's built an amazingly large base of support among the internet community. It's really remarkable. John Dean did it. He didn't win Howard Dean. He didn't win the election, but at least he was able to, you know, create some attention.
In fact, in his case, they think that maybe he was never doing as well as he actually thought he was.
He wasn't really viable.
He was hanging out in an echo chamber on the internet.
Oh, that's interesting. That's the other thing is you can, and I think this is a problem sometimes with some companies and some media personalities who shall remain nameless. But you can create an echo chamber of people who are just saying good things about you, right?
The Mutual Admiration Society, get all your friends around and tell you how great you are.
I would never do that. So it's a good idea to actually seek out the negatives.
That's right. You can't be afraid of them. You should link to them. You should link to your competitors. You should drive your Google rank higher than everybody else out there, and not shy away from the conversation.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. I'm sorry I missed this speech, but I'm glad you could come in and talk a little bit about it on the show. I think nowadays you don't have a choice. You kind of have to. And books like the Clue Train Manifesto,
that's right.
Robert Scoble's The Naked Conversations. That's what these books are about. Is, you know, nowadays a market is a conversation with the guy selling something to the person's buying.
Clue Train's almost 10 years old now, but we're really starting to see its principles take off in you know, the GMs of the world, and Whole Foods has a blog, NHL, everyone's doing it. And it's good and important to get in there and start experimenting and engaging these audiences where they're at.
It's really neat. And you know, some companies won't make it, but the companies that do it right will, and I think that's exciting. Chris Krug is president of Rain City Studios. He knows about interactivity, helps people with their websites, with Drupal, all over the world, and is a great resource for us. We thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks,
Leo. Really appreciate it. A final word coming up right after this. Stay right here. You know, it's funny, when you first start blogging, even just as an individual, it's a little scary. You feel a little bit vulnerable, don't you?
You feel very exposed because you have to introduce yourself. And so kind of, how much do you give and how much do you keep? You know?
And you can't really have a blog without comments.
Absolutely.
So people are going to talk back to you.
Good and bad.
Good and bad.
Good and bad.
It's challenging, and in the long run, I think it's very powerful and a good thing to do. But even for an individual, I can imagine it's much worse for a corporation that has, you know, stockholders and a reputation.
Be so careful.
It's got to be very difficult. But you don't do it, and you don't do it right. You do it kind of dishonestly. You can hurt yourself more.
Yes.
On the other hand, what a great opportunity if you connect with your audience or your customers. What an opportunity.
Absolutely.
We'd like to connect with you. If you want to join us, just go to the website, right?
LabwithLeo.com/tech questions. Fill in this form and we will answer your tech woes.
See how easy that was?
See how easy?
Yeah. Be nice, okay, though? Because I'm very sensitive.
I know.
Thanks for joining us. I'll see you next time on the Lab.